who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stop the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scrape their knees. Now just imagine how they mightest feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calm. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look? Abolish CPS.
Psalm 127. Children are heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift
You will
from God to be
probably know
valued
the
and
guest from tonight.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their pics are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title IV says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the lie.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped.
Childhood, growing and developing years of a person. This is meant to be a highly important time to create morals, fundamentals, and skills necessary to be a success. Instead, the trauma CPS creates in these young minds set a path of disaster, and statistics prove it. In nearly 90% of their cases, the trauma is unnecessary. Time is the one thing that can never be given back. CPS takes away moments in life that can't be replaced. The time just keeps going, doesn't mean a thing anymore. They left as children, and it's up to them when they come home if they know who you are. Each second away is time you will never get back and keep getting older.
Studies are leading towards incarceration.
Now comes the honorable judge in the halls of justice, where the Constitution will hold strong, and your rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness will trample CPS for all they have done to your child.
The truth and corruption that's revealed to you is enough to make you sick. This is not America we were sold.
Children are being taken from families at the rate of 1 minute. It needs to be stopped.
It's time to wake up and abolish CPS.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion a day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
No, not again. All right, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I am your host, the CPS Punisher. Like we always say to you guys, we got a chat right over here. We encourage you, please. Let me see if I get this right first time. Boom, there's a chat right there. I encourage you guys to leave a message there, ask some questions. Tonight's going to be a doozy, so I'm thinking that you may want to use that chat tonight. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, whatever you guys do with that on YouTube. I mean, we're on Twitch, we're on X, we're on a couple different channels on Facebook. So there's plenty of ways that you can watch us, share us, tell your friends about it, do whatever you got to do so that we can get the message out to help the families stay reunified or stay unified. Hell with reunified. Help keep our families unified, as one. Because this is getting to be ridiculous how CPS is just picking us apart one family at a time by removing, they start like we always talk about. They take the cornerstone of the family out first. They take the father out, leaving the mother and the child to be there at the beck and call of CPS, doing things like I'm sure a lot of you have been involved in, saying, there's domestic violence, going on, so the father can't be around. Even though there's no domestic violence at all, there's never even been an occurrence, but they'll convince you that there was, get the father and you volunteer for all these programs, in essence, making yourself look guilty. And in the meantime, your kid not only is now dealing with the trauma of the fear of everything that's going on, if they hadn't been removed yet in the family, but now you're without dad, you're without that cornerstone, you're without that pillar of your family. And it's not fair. It's not right what they're doing. But it's one of their tactics that they go for. I mean, they don't want any person strong in that household that's willing to give a shot back. Now, I'm not saying that you mothers out there that have your kids and CPS has done this to you aren't capable of fighting back. I know full well that you ladies are amazing mammals that I wouldn't ever want to cross myself either. So I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is the father's job in life and society is to be the security blanket and the pillar for a family and the provider. And if he's not there, that leaves the vulnerability of the rest of the family to stay in that home and be under the scrutiny of the CPS worker. That being said, let's get Melissa out here tonight, and we'll get our special guest out here in 1 second. Melissa, How we doing? Herbert?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Herbert,
Hey.
how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing,
Herbert.
Darren? Hi, Melissa.
Hey, Herbert.
Hey.
What do you think about the father in the family? Like when we talk about the word father, what do we think about when we say the word father? Like the father does what for a family?
I believe that in my opinion, the father is like the backbone of the family. He's that masculine person that people listen to in the family. Unfortunately, women should be listened to the same way, but you got to have both men and women to make that family. You have to have both. It's just like the whole of building up. You have to have two pillars. So one pillar on one side, one on the other side, in order to maintain the strength of that building.
Right. No, I agree.
But I believe that your guest tonight will give us a view about the role that's played by the father in the family.
Right. Melissa, what say you about the role of the father in the family?
Well, I mean, I always think that a family, especially a child, whether it's a broken house home or a household together, the impression on the child of a father, of that strong person, that superhero, because your father's supposed to be your hero. And, is he supposed to be the provider? Yeah, in a perfect world, yes. Nowadays, it takes both parents to provide in order to survive. Hence, you get rid of the father, you get rid of half the income. Now all of a sudden the bills are too tight and it keeps the department in your life. Because in my household, I'm the primary provider, but my husband is who my kids turn to when they want that strong, go-get-em person that will die to protect them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll die to protect my kids too. But, he's not the corrector of I kind of wear the pants on that side of it. But he is the one that feeds cookies for breakfast.
Right.
So he's loved more than I am.
Right, of course. You need to have that. You know what I mean? Like dad needs to be that sugar-coated one, because look, I don't care who you are. A father will never have that same relationship with their child as the mother has. Now, that's whether it's with a son or a daughter. But, the mother has grown that child inside of her belly, and she has attachments physically that a man will never be able to have. However, that being said, that doesn't fall short on the love that a man has for his family. And what makes the father bond special with the child, in my opinion, is that the father has to earn and maintain that bond with his child. The mother gets it automatically, I believe, because of the fact that the mother created the child. So that in itself, it's like, when you come out of the womb, that's mom right there. I just flew down there, the passage, and I'm out and I'm screaming, I'm crying. That's my mom. I want her nipple. We need to feed off of her. So the child automatically knows where mom is and what she's about. But dad has to be introduced. And dad has to be, bedded, if you will, with the baby. Your dad has to be gotten used to by the baby. Any person can step into that position and be dad. But let's see who's going to be the father. That being said, our guest tonight, he comes from a group called Fathers in Heart and Legacy. He's the CEO of that group. He has a rap sheet. Well, not a rap sheet. I'm sorry. He has well, maybe he does have a rap sheet. I don't know. But he's got a list about this long of the things that he's done for fathers and the fathers movement. As well as for children, and he has experience in the CPS world, so he's going to tell us some information here that, Melissa, I finally got the answer. Do you remember the other day we knew about when we were talking about how we say they're for private, organization. They're for hire. They're not a part of the whatever the government.
Right.
Well, over 40% are debt. You know what? I'm going to let Mr. Shakur come on out here, and he can explain to us how this system breaks down. Let me pull. You got him, Melissa?
Yep, I got him.
Mr. Shakur, here you are, coming to you live. There he is. Mr. Shakur, how are we? Welcome.
I'm good. What's going on? I want to say good night, but that's going somewhere else.
Right, this night's just beginning.
Yeah,
this show is 5 hours, so are you ready for that?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with you.
Party time over here. Huh?
So, Mr. Shakur, you're with your group is called, your company is called Father's Heart and Legacy. What do you got? What are you guys doing? What do you got going on?
Well, Father's Heart and Legacy for the last 10 years of empowering the family, but especially fathers, the role and responsibilities that's necessary to, like, I think Melissa, as her name was trying to describe, which is the cornerstone of family life. Most times women are described as the foundation and men are described as the cornerstone. So our organization has been creating platforms to share that type of information in order to empower families to be better, essentially good men.
Hey, Mr. Shakur, or Dr. Fowler, I know you're there in the background. Can we do something maybe to get his microphone a little bit clearer? He's a little bit distant there, so I know what he has to say is very important. So I don't want to miss a word at all about this. So maybe we can do something to get him a little bit more loud, a little bit up there and a little clearer. Is there something that we can do to adjust that? I don't know if
Can you hear me? How about now?
Yeah, that's yes, sir. That's it right there.
That's it. All right. That's good.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
All right.
So yeah, maybe if you would let's pretend this. We'll start over. Ready? We'll pretend like, oh, hey, Mr. Shakur, thank you so much for coming on the show. Your group's called Father's Heart and Legacy. What's this all about? Tell us a little bit about your company.
So again, Father's Heart and Legacy has been for the last 10 years. We've been empowering families, especially fathers, on the role of fathers and the responsibilities that it takes to be successful. Our platform advocates for fathers that are attempting to be reunited with their families and their children. And we've had contracts with DHS, essentially in Philadelphia. They're called CUAs. That's Community Umbrella Agencies, and we work with them. Yeah, that's that word. That word.
That's the word.
Mm-hmm. So, and we work with the school district, empowering fathers there. We work with county agencies throughout Philadelphia. So, the thing I'm very proud of is that we have been sponsoring events that gives us an opportunity to talk about these different that normally some agencies don't have the liberty to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what is what in a whole, what is the problem, or what is going on in this world right now with the father unit, would you say?
They're absent from Call of Duty. Need families, different reasons, is that I'm not available.
Oh, dropping
prisons. There are probably 8 million people in prisons.
Right.
Fathers are a portion of that number. Fathers disappointed and discouraged, and they are in our communities, but they don't go see their children, and they don't support their children for numerous reasons. But the reason why our organization has become so important, because we encourage fathers to, no matter how much money they make, and I like what she said about money, is that fathers are much more important than their wallet. We should be clear about that. They give much more family life than money. They're encouragers, they're nurturers, they're protectors. They give.
They're big children.
Are big children, because I play PlayStation with my kids all the time.
Hey, my husband has a drone. It costs like $400. I'm familiar.
You know, my kids love the fact that I stay up till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning playing PlayStation with them. So we do those. We add to the family experience, and most of all, we give an example. When the father is not there, then girls don't have an example of what they should marry, what they should invite into their life. Fathers give them the first example, and especially the boys. Boys get the first-hand experience of seeing what a father do, how a father should function, how he should respond to life situations. So we are so much more important than, and don't get me wrong, financial dollars are very important. Because I know my ex-wife gets a lot from me, but the example that I set for my sons is invaluable. So our organization is skills. We give that information, which is essential to being a good father. Now, many of us can be, but not all of us can be fathers. Fathers, you have to qualify by doing the job in a way that produces healthy children, a healthy wife, which essentially gives you better family. So if you're ignorant, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I'm just talking about you don't know. If you remain in that position, then more than likely your family is in that position. That's not a position you want to be in. So we try to create platforms where we give various different events. We work with fathers in school districts, fathers from all over, to educate them on that essential information that makes them better, which makes their families better. That's what we do.
All right, that sounds good. So your focus then, not only is it, so you have the focus of recreating the father here, but you're also pushing for the reunification of the father unit, not only to the child, but to the entire family.
It's funny that you use that word. We have a philosophy what we call character reconstruction. And that essentially takes the father's good traits and helps give him the information to eliminate his negative traits. And essentially, we actually do what you said. We rebuild men to be better. That's what we do. When a father is acting better, producing better, and responding better to life, that gives him the tools to reconnect and reunify his family, even if it's a blended family. And what I mean by blended family, the mother lives in one location, he lives in another, and you have other people involved. So, you know, I always say to people, if you know better, you can do better. If you know better, you can do better. And giving men the information, I think men are very unfairly, on a lot of occasions, judged because we assume that they know what to do. Many of us grew up, we didn't have fathers. My father lived across town, he never came to see me. So I grew up with a vacuum there. Many of us that don't have fathers have that hole in our gut that we're trying to stuff with other things other than the information that's necessary to be better. Drugs, alcohol, violence, you know, that was my history. I've been recovering now for 33 years. But the way I started out, that lack of fathering, that feeling of why my father didn't want me, left a vacuum there that I tried to stuff with a whole lot of unhealthy stuff. And drugs and alcohol, violence was one of those three-headed, they call that Hydra monster that got me in a lot of trouble. So I'm teaching from firsthand experience. This is why my organization has been so good at what we do, because I teach my own experience of not having a father there, not having father figures, and having to try to figure it out myself. And what our organization does is that we don't allow you to figure it out on your own. We give you good information so we can give you some type of roadmap on how to get to the successful living that you deserve. When we do that, it essentially helps men to what? Reunite with their families.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Hey, Darren.
Hey, what?
Guess who's also with us tonight?
Who's that? So I want to. Okay, who's that? It's on the picture here. There you are. All right. I want to go with this question here, just only because I want to spend a second with it. The CUA, the Community Umbrella. Community Umbrella. What is the A for? I'm sorry.
Agency.
So, Community Umbrella Agency. What is the CUA? What is that? Can you just explain a little bit into that? Because what I'm thinking is this is where everybody draws the definition of CPS is a private organization, for profit and so on. But like we discussed backstage earlier, that's not necessarily the case. But I think that these CUAs are what are coming in front of people, and they're seeing that they're not DHHS, but in fact it's you. So therefore you're labeled, I'm just using this as for instance or whatever. So don't take any of this information as solid fact. But for you would be, so if you came to the house, you'd be like, oh, that's CPS. That's what I'm talking about when it's not a government, like it's a for hire agency, not a government agency. Melissa, you know what I'm trying to talk about here, right? I don't know if I'm hitting it right.
Yeah, you're talking about the departments being like privatized corporations that function to push policy, but they function outside of the proper roles of a government agency while still working as like a subcontractor doing the government agency's job. So they get away with a lot more crap than other agencies would.
Yes, what she said. So how many of those CUA groups did you talk about? Would you say 40%? You said, I think earlier.
They take up a very large number of the foster care population in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a little background on CUAs. A number of years, there was a little girl that was in the care of agency outside of the agency. It's a long story, but the short story is that they failed in her supervision, and the young lady wound up dying. She wound up starving to death. Right? She wound up dying from complications of being starved. So once that happened, of course, people began to question the organization, and some of those people falsified documents. They went to jail, and the family obviously wanted justice. One of the ways that the city responded, DHS, was to create these community umbrella agencies. Now, these community umbrella agencies are not DHS themselves. They are organizations outside of DHS that work in conjunction with DHS to help solve the foster care population. And they do some other services, but that's their main crux. The two major things that these agencies were created to solve is, number one, who is the immediate choice of children when they enter the system because the parents have become temporarily or permanently not available. And those persons are family. So one of the main principles is that the family should receive the child first.
Right.
Generally, the history has been that they go to strangers, and they might go all the way 10, 15, 20, 30 miles, maybe from close to another state. It's been the history of it. But here, this is supposed to keep the child with the family. It's also supposed to keep the child in the same locality if it is possible. So they continue in the same schools, they continue to have the same friends until the community umbrella agency puts them with a permanent family, which should be their own. Now, the failure in this is this, that doesn't happen all the time. And children
Doesn't
get
happen
taken-
hardly ever. They hate placing with family.
I don't know if I wouldn't say ever, but it happens a lot, and that goes against the very principles on why it was created. You see what I'm saying? Because this young lady dying was the catalyst for changing the whole system itself and creating the community umbrella agencies. So
Now, see,
I think
in Michigan, they use an organization called Catholic Charities to do the same thing that you're speaking of. And pretty much you never see the CPS worker. You'll only ever see this agency worker. On the other hand, here in Alabama, we don't have a third-party organization that comes in. We just have the main organization, but they even put on their letterhead that they are a privatized corporation working independent of government to enforce government policy.
Okay.
Well, when hi everybody.
Oh, yes, there we are. Another special guest to us tonight is Dr. Fowler. She's right to the side of Mr. Shakur. So, Fowler,
Yeah,
how are you
Cheryl, how are you doing tonight? How are you feeling?
Cheryl,
You feeling better? I told you look up and look at your guest list.
I don't see her on there.
Look at the guest list. She's got her camera turned off because she's still not feeling great.
Oh my gosh, there she is right there.
But I'm on. Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Hi.
Better now that we know that you're upright taking nourishment and not in the hospital.
Yeah, I'm out. But look, that when the Department of Children's Service dropped off these two young girls to my house, they said the mother wanted the children to be dropped off at my house, and they said they'll be back in 30 days, and they were 6 and 1, and now they're 17 and 11. So I guess that 30 days never came. And and when I went to adopt them, that third party organization came out, and it's called Harmony. And Harmony was the person that worked with the Department of Children's Service, but they were not directly connected to them, but they were the one that we had to work with to adopt the children. But they passing these kids off, and they doing all kinds of stuff. Melissa, did you see the text I just sent to you?
Probably.
It's for some good reading and understanding. Look at that.
All right, so all right, so Mr. Shakur, what do you think? So let's break this down as far as CPS goes and what you guys do with CPS. How do you interact as a unit with CPS? When I know that you go, you do the full array of fathers, and like that's your guys', the father unit itself. But as far as when CPS gets involved with a father, what do you do? Take me to the beginning of CPS coming to me as a father, and I call you guys. Where do we go from there? What do we do?
Well, again, it depends on what you're doing. I'll just give you a description of what our program used to do. Our program used to find fathers that were not clear or were not informed that their children were even in the system themselves. Right. Once we found those fathers and communicated to them that their children is in the system, then they would meet with caseworkers, they would go in front of a judge and be informed about what they needed to do in order to get your children. So that could vary. You know what I'm saying? If there was a guy that had anger management issues, you have to get some anger management, therapy. What we did was gave them the proper fatherhood classes and workshops to attend in order to satisfy the judge's need that he's being informed of his role and his responsibilities as a father. So again, that's one of the ways. Now, every individual case is different, so the variables are going to be different. I think some key things that happen, two key things, is that they receive case management that should, not all the time, but it should help them navigate and create a plan for them to follow to successfully get their children. Now, the problem with that is, right, you're laughing too. So the problem with that is that sometimes it's not a very practical plan for them to get their children back. It's not. And then sometimes father themselves are not in the position that the case managers need them to be in. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes it's not a perfect marriage. I think the problem with their CUAs is that you have a lot of people that lack the experience and the wisdom of the position. And in doing that, they make hasty decisions to take people's children from them. That happens a lot. I mean, we have to tell the truth about it. Sometimes they take people's children way too quickly. They don't give those people the due process in order to work it out so they get in position to get their children. And because that, again, children go into different homes and don't succeed because they naturally are desiring their parents. So that's just one variable. There are sometimes variables when fathers know that their children are in the system, but they're not performing very well, and the system has, again, decided to take their rights from them. That's another scenario that is not very good. You see what I'm saying? And something done very quickly without the proper due process, the proper training, proper time to get a position, get a father employed. There are a lot of variables there. This is why I keep telling people, they say, well, they should just do something with the fathers. That's a complex thing because a lot of people come with a lot of different issues. You see what I'm saying? So drug and alcohol, the system is not broke. It's always been broke. People say it's broke. It's always been broke. It's not a perfect system. And then you have people in it that are not perfect either. And they make a lot of mistakes in trying to service people. So again, I think it's a complex answer, but that's some variables which fathers go through in order to try to get the children back.
Right. So what do you find is the first barrier that a father must break through to get himself in the limelight with the child?
Contact, whatever age. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I mean, so, like, for instance, here comes dad. He's been pushed out since birth, let's say. Okay. So, they said that there's some sort of a domestic violence or something like that. So dad is pushed out of the family unit. And then now here he comes. It's been 6 months. Dad's been working hard, but yet he hasn't seen little Junior. What does dad need to overcome when he's stepping into this? Like, what are the expectations? How do you get the father back into the life? And what are the things that need to be overcome?
Now, this may sound like, let me just, first fathers, at least when they come through my program, have to take personal responsibility for who they are. That's first and foremost. If you don't do that, then you're not going to be able to meet requirements that these agencies are going to tell you need in order to get your children. So you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary to get your children back. And we all come with issues. So all of us.
Yeah, that's
so what? Dad ain't perfect?
Hey.
No, definitely not. Without question, no. So that imperfectness, has to be that you're willing to do whatever is necessary. So if you say maybe a father lost his temper and, you know, he's got a domestic violence thing, you have to do what's necessary to go to the therapy, because they're going to sign you up for that. Because the case manager is going to work with you once you contact that necessary organization to find out what is going on with your children. They're going to give you a roadmap of what is required to successfully father your children and obtain them into your custody. So whatever that is, drug and alcohol treatment, domestic violence, therapy, fathering classes, employment. Employment is a big one. I've seen a lot of men not be able to obtain their children because they weren't able to get employment, or they weren't able to get sustainable employment. And sustainable employment is when you don't make enough. You don't make enough to get them. Like you work somewhere for $7 an hour and you ain't making enough to even afford an apartment. So these things, the agency is there to help you to succeed at. Now, let me say this. I don't want to be long-winded, but I got to say this. You got to know your rights when you go into these agencies. They're there to service you. That's their job. You're not doing them no favor because you're there. They're there to service you. They're servants. They are servants. And if you act like they're doing you a favor instead of acting like they are there to service you, then you're going to have problems. So I teach the men, remember your rights. Remember you're there to receive help, and make sure they help you. Now be polite as you can. Be respectful. Don't go off and set the place on fire. But make sure you're getting what you're supposed to get in order to succeed. And again, I must say, if we're telling the truth, that doesn't always happen. That doesn't always happen. Fathers ask for this, they ask for that, and sometimes they're very slow at getting the necessary resources in order to succeed. But you have to be persistent. You can't quit.
So do you the guys that you service or that comes into your program, are they trying to get custody, or have anyone ever told them just because they the mother had the child doesn't mean that the mother has the custody? They only have custody when they go and get it. So once that child is born, that dad can go and get custody, or the mom can go and get custody, but no one has custody until it's established. And we try to tell these parents, both parents need to go do joint custody, physical custody, or something. But a lot of men think that because the woman done had the baby, the woman automatically have custody, and that's not true at all.
Well, again, it depends on what state you're in.
Right.
Depends on what state you're in.
Yeah, because in Florida, they will not give a father any kind of right whatsoever when the child's born until he DNA tests as the father. They won't let him sign. They won't let him sign the birth certificate or nothing. The only way he gets on there ahead of time is if he's been married to her at least 3 months of the pregnancy.
Yeah, well, that's true. Uh-oh.
Well, in Philadelphia, you know, it's evolved a little bit and it's changed. And currently, I think what it is that the father's name has to be on a birth certificate. But again, every situation is different. There's no one template that covers everything. The variables are different. Sometimes the mother is deemed to be where her rights need to be temporarily or permanently taken away. She might be on drugs, she might be in prison or whatever. Then the father is next able relative contact in order to try to get the children to stay with the family. Remember what I told you in the beginning, the CUA's purpose was to try to keep children with their original families. And the first person, obviously, if the mother is not doing well, would be the father. Now, the problem with that is that Sometimes the fathers would see the kids regularly. Sometimes they would be in the kids' life. Our job is to find the fathers and inform them that your children are a part of the DHS system, and this is what you need to do in order to begin to work to get them into your custody. Now, believe it or not, some fathers will say, "Yo, man, I can't do that because I ain't doing well myself."
Well,
And we would encourage them to use their resources in order to get better. So that's what the organization is for.
yeah, but that's the only reason that dads does not have child is because they give up their rights or they don't want to go do it. But it doesn't matter what state you're in. The mother just don't automatically have custody of a child. Now I know that for a fact. And mothers or dads don't even go to court to even try to get custody when the child is born, because everybody think they're in love, and then they never think about it until it's a situation. Now everybody's fighting for it. And when that kid is born, I don't care who names on the birth certificate. I don't care about anything. If you don't have established custody, you don't have it. Either one of them. And just like when things happen, when boyfriend and girlfriends break up and they have children, the police cannot get involved, because wherever that child is, then that's where that child will stay until they establish custody and they establish all of that. And it's been said, I've been working on this kind of stuff for many years through different states and everything, and it's always the same. You have to establish.
I can tell you a quick story. That was in Philadelphia. There was a couple that shared custody of a little girl. They got in a few arguments and got physical. So the dad picked the child up for visitation. Then he went on a trip without the permission of the mother, traveling America. He just didn't come back with her. So she informed the authorities that she wanted to get him on kidnap charges. However, what they told her is what Cheryl is saying, is that you don't have custody of your daughter. So what they told her she needed to do, once the father was informed that he needed to show up for court, then they would decide custody.
Yes.
So Cheryl is right. It depends on where you are. Every state has different laws that vary in some type of way. The important, I think, thing to let fathers, if you're listening, know is that use the system to your advantage. It has some issues with it, but you can't get around it. You got to go through it in order to get to the other side.
Right.
So, again, to tell fathers do that, then the experience turns out better.
What is that biggest barrier that you've got to go through? What are the most common, the biggest, what is that big hurdle that you need to come across?
Is working with people sometimes that don't think you're worthy of the position. I mean, believe it or not, they make it difficult for you. However, the organization will tell you that whatever your needs are, you need to qualify in those needs by being involved with agencies to help you solve it. Again, like if you have drug and alcohol issues. This is another thing that men don't get their children. They fail drug tests.
Yeah.
Even though marijuana is in some places. So whatever those needs are, because you can't just pinpoint one or two, because everybody has a different situation. That's why I'm not trying to talk in exactas. It's in exact things. So
Right.
whatever those things are, everyone's situation is different. You have to know what those things are. And believe me, a bad case manager or a good case manager, they're going to let you know what you got to do, because they got to cover themselves. So if you got to go therapy, if you got to get employment, if you got to go in front of the judge, which naturally most times you do, they're going to inform you of that. And it's their job, fathers, it's their job to make sure those organizations deliver.
You're breaking up, Cheryl. Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, now, yep.
I said that a lot of that doesn't happen that way a lot because the judges, the attorneys, the guard ad litem, the doctors, they all working together against the family. And when they have their eyes set on a child, they're gonna take them regardless. And the whole, like you were saying at the beginning, the whole system is to always keep the children with the family. And it seemed like they have forgotten that. And the family is the least people that they look for. And something has to give with that. Something has to give with that.
Well, what I have seen,
we remember that. Remember, we proved that with the statistics. That statistics show the number one hit that they're looking for is a low to middle class family, but with the two parents still remaining in the home. That's where CPS is going after. Those are the ones that they're trying to take out. Why? Because they're trying to dismantle the family unit for, I'm assuming, it's the unity, right? It's the strength in numbers. That's what these things are showing, right? Like that's why they're going after, because you don't see CPS, and I'm not trying to be rude or cause any issues, but if you have a rundown neighborhood in your area that they call a project or whatever, you don't see CPS going in there and trying to take apart or take those kids down. You know, the ones that are running down the street in a diaper with one shoe on, you know, they look like they haven't bathed in a month. CPS isn't rolling up in those places. Nope, they're coming to these nice neighborhoods where mom and dad are sitting outside, you know, like watching their kids play on the playground. The kid falls off the slide, and the next thing you know, they're in the middle of a CPS investigation. I mean, and the statistics show they want a two-parent home. That's what they want.
Well, more than that, they want well-behaved children. It's much easier to adopt out a well-behaved child than a 12-year-old that's going to try to kill you in your sleep.
Right. Yep, I agree with that. So,
I mean, if you look at the state statistics for the kids in care in my state, you know, we broke it down to like different areas, counties, whatnot. It seemed to be the lower end of middle class, and almost 80% of the kids in care in my state are 4 years and younger. There's very few teenagers in our state that are in care. But the biggest thing I see in my state is because the fathers down here typically will be the primary parent in most cases. Like, fathers down here have a very strong, they were taught well by their fathers, you know, and they believe in family down here. And they are the first ones ran off every time. The department sends them away. They call them abusers. They call them beaters. They say that when there is no abuse and they can't prove anything, they say it's an extenuating circumstance or it's emotional neglect. Anything they can, because they know mom's not going to support the house by herself, and it leaves the door open for them to keep coming back, to keep screwing with your kids until they can justify saying, hey, guess what? This family wants to buy them for you know, so we're going to move them over there.
Right. Yeah.
Philadelphia, there isn't the majority of the parents that are serviced to get the children are women. In fact, some organizations have been cited by the state for not even investing enough money into fathers itself. That's how I got my contract. My contract came as a result of the organization having a separate budget to deal specifically with fathers. And another organization that I had a contract with they were cited by the state because they invested barely any money with fathers. So again, it depends on where you live. Philosophies of different states react differently. I think the main thing to learn from this is that we have to keep fathers educated in what they need to do. And anybody can do about that. Your church, your masjid, your religious organization, your civil organization. You can ask people that work in these fields to come volunteer and spend their time explaining to people that need that information on how they should navigate these systems. Because that's 90% of the problem, is that men don't navigate the system well. And unfortunately, they put themselves in a position where people can take advantage of them in a negative way. Because, you know, again, these people that work on these agencies, they people. You know, they everyday people, get up like we do, put their pants on like we do. Some of them good, some of them not.
And most of them don't even know what their own policy says. But they just they just gave us, well, we're in the process now of working on a grant. They just gave they have a $10 million grant for fatherhood. And when working with fathers that's incarcerated, that's coming out, or fathers, whatever it has to do with fathers, that's what this grant is for. And so we're in the process of filling that out and seeing if we can get this grant also, because we do a lot with fathers. We help them with record expungements, getting their records clean, getting their driver's license back, going through work training, doing some workforce development training with forklift and barber and stuff like that. So we're gonna see where this goes, because and you're right, it's a lot. And I know earlier you all was talking about, Melissa, about what is a father and what happened. And I just beg to differ on one couple of things that were said, because the father is the head of the house, and that's what it was designed for. And we have now have trade roles, and that's not what it's for. But as long as the system can come and disrupt your house and run the men away. Someone said, I don't know if it was on this show or another one, said that they used to come to a person's house and ask, is the dad and your mom and dad home? And the man couldn't, the person that came to the house could not even come in the house if the dad wasn't there. And then they came back and the dad and the mom was there, and they asked to speak to both of them. And they told the mother and the dad, if the dad moved out of the house, then we'll give you all $1,500 a month. And that started a cycle, and that's when the father was removed from the house, and then the grandmothers and the sisters and everybody got on that bandwagon, and everybody was feeling good to get $1,500 a month, as long as they don't have the fathers or the dads or the men in the house.
Could you imagine if the department gave families $1,500 a month nowadays? How much that could change the economics in a household to keep the kids there?
No, I don't, because they still saying now, if you have a man living in your house, then you won't receive anything. That's not good. That's harassment. That's a bias. That's all of it. How you gonna tell me that my kid's father can't live in a house with me and I can't receive any kind of help because my kid's father's in the house? Then that means we don't need it. That means me and my kid's father gonna do what we need to do to take care of. I told my kid's father, I don't put the system in my house, because the system wasn't in my bed when we made these kids, and they ain't coming in here now. I never put them on child support, and they took good care of their children. And I had no problem. But I think if we do a lot of training and inform people and just talk with them and let them know, get them folks up out y'all business. Take care of your business. These men get on these radio shows and they mad and they cussing out the mamas, calling them every name but the child of God because they took their income tax from them. But all year they won't give them $1 to help take care of the kids. You know, those kind of things. We have to do better ourselves to make sure
Yes,
we keep the system out of our family.
absolutely. People do got to start working together because,
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, a lot of very mean women in the world have kind of weaponized child support against the man. And
yeah,
that's not a fair way to be because, you know, my ex, I told him, I said, if there's something I need for my kid, I will come to you directly because it is your job as the father, even though you have your new marriage, and my job as the mother. We made this kid. We need to co parent and raise this kid.
yeah,
And I will
yeah.
Well,
not
that
walk into the courtroom to say, I want $500 a week. No, if I need $500 that week, I'll just call you and tell you to go do some grocery shopping or something.
Look, they pay $249 for child support. And that dad could pay way more than that to take care of this kid. But when you piss them off and make them pay through going to put the system in there, now you stuck with $249 versus what this man could have done taking care of his children. Now, some people you have to force and make them do it, but the majority of them you don't. Just work together. But that's what we
Well,
have to teach our.
but I mean, they have weaponized it in a way, though, that a lot of fathers aren't seeing their kids just
Mhm.
because they're so far in the arrear, there's so much
Yes,
child support against them that they don't even try to see their kid.
yeah.
And those may be great fathers. I'm not saying they're all great fathers, but
But you
those
know
are
what?
fathers that could be teaching kids something. They could be,
But
teaching
guess
that
what?
kid not to be going out there on the street and trying drugs and teaching them how to handle themselves around bullies and not
Guess
playing into peer pressure,
but
because
listen.
that's a father's role.
Guess what?
I,
That's exactly what I'm saying. I promise you. Hold on. I'm gonna stop talking. Just let me do this one right here. The reason why the mothers are weaponizing and using that against the dad is because the dad did not go get custody. When the father go to the courts and say my baby is a newborn, me and my girl is together, but I still want to establish custody. Now they're going to give you joint custody, and then they don't have to worry about somebody using child support because the man can go and get child support from the woman. That all of that stuff that women do to men, men can do to women also.
Right.
there are two different avenues on how in Philadelphia. Talking about Philadelphia, there are two different avenues on how men or women even have to pay child support. Number one, if they receive money from the state, like money,
That's
then
right.
whoever that opposite parent is, they got to pay that money back. Like I had to pay back $20,000 because she received money. So, and then the other one is if a parent, man or a woman, goes down there and they file a claim against the other parent. Nothing happens by accident. It don't happen because of custody and stuff like that. A claim has to happen, at least in Philadelphia. So, so the system is built now. If you fall behind by $120, they garnish your check. They report to IRS, so you don't get any type of return at all. Because they did it to me,
But
and I wasn't even.
don't you know the state get 15% of whatever your child support is?
Well, that might be true. But what I'm saying to you is that men have to. First of all, we're not educated to that point to even know any of this kind of stuff here. This is why it's so important to educate men. And
That's
then
right.
number two, that is that being responsible means that you're communicating with the mother of your child, whether you're together or you're not together. So you and her, like Miss House, like Miss House, that you can keep this outside of the court system itself. Because once the courts get involved, whoever that is not paying, you're about to get it. You're about to get everything that goes with making sure you pay that money on time. And if you don't, and the majority of those people, I hate to say it, are fathers. You know what I'm saying? The majority of them are fathers. And if you don't, they're going to try to get you in a position, either they put you in jail, you miss the court order and you don't pay maybe twice, they'll issue a warrant for your arrest and you'll be put in jail.
That's because the fathers are not doing what they're supposed to do. Again, they are being relaxed. They run around here having babies everywhere and don't think it's going to catch them. And when it does, now they mad. Now they don't want to work because they don't want to have to do this. They get their license taken away. But it's majority of the time it's dads because they don't know what their rights are. They don't know that they can nip this in the butt in the beginning, but they had a babies and walk away. Then the women go do what they have to do. And I know this for sure because it happened to me. My oldest daughter, dad, started using drugs. He started acting a fool. We went to court so I could get an order of protection against him. The judge asked me, do you have custody of your kids? And I said, no, they my kids. He said, so it's his children too. But I'm going to establish full custody to you for all three of your children. I was like, oh my God, thank you. And now, from the time they was little bitty kids till they became adults, I had full custody of them. I didn't know that I didn't have it. And that's what I'm telling you. If the man or the woman have a child, you don't have custody. Go get that established, and that'll stop a lot of this stuff that's happening also. And I'm just saying.
Let me tell you about an exercise that I used to have. I used to be a vice president at probably the most prominent fatherhood program in the country at the time. We had replicated the program in 3 other states. There was a national campaign to take our program and just put it all over the place. So this is an exercise that I used to do. I have to, on average, I had 60 plus men in one classroom. I used to stand all of the men up and I used to ask them one simple question. Why are you not in your children's life? Now, you'll get a lot of different answers, but this was the answer that I got the most. They didn't think they were worthy of being in their life because they said, Shaq, they used to call me Shaq. I don't make enough money. She'd be asking for the money. I don't make enough, so I can't pay it to her. I can't take the kids nowhere because all my money is going to bills. So they don't even feel worthy. So we saying now you need to go get custody. But if a person don't even feel they're worthy enough to get custody, they're not going to go do that. So we have to build their mindset and restructure their heart so they know that they can contribute more than money, that they are worth more than money, and at the same time help them economically get in a better position so they can do better by their children. Because you're right, a lot of them, they don't do well on the financial piece, but that's not all to the puzzle here. What's behind that not doing well financially is most occasions for the men that I've serviced over the last 30 years. They don't believe they're worthy. And if you don't believe you're worthy of something, then you're not going to work for that very thing. You're going to do what? You're going to say, I'm not worthy. They can do better without me. And you're just going to go and you're going to be absent. And we have to encourage them not to do that. We do, for those of us that know. That those of us, especially, don't get me wrong, this is, as the young people say, no shade or no insults to anybody. A lot of us have gone through these situations in the past. And when we see people going through it, we act like they got some kind of problem that never has been discovered. So they consider us hypocrites. But we need to share with them, this was my experience when I went through it. I did these things. You can get help from here. And I'm hoping that what this show does, is let other people know that you're not alone. There are people there in your very place that you live that you can ask for help, and you don't have to feel like you're going through this by yourself. That you are worthy, no matter what mistakes you make. I mean, I told you I was on drugs. I ran around the streets crazy, out of my damn mind, all cracked up, and now my kids don't even know that I was on drugs. My oldest daughter is 30 years old. I've been clean for 33 years. So that gives you an idea how long I've been clean. So if we do this, then we're contributing to the solution. Because a lot of people just want to sit back and just call names across the fence and say this is what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And I don't think that we should be about that. If you're going to offer solutions, then we offer solutions. That's what it should be about. Because a lot of people don't give a damn. They're like, yo, it's their problem. It ain't my problem, so what? What happened to everybody? Where'd they go? Oh. I don't hear no music or nothing. I don't know. Looks like it's alright.
Hello. Yeah, we're all still here.
Okay.
Okay.
I couldn't find my phone. Couldn't find my microphone.
Maybe fall reflective silence. We're a little worried here.
Yeah, we thought everybody left the building.
No one's left the building except for maybe Elvis at this point. Well, I mean, we're kind of hitting the end of our time.
Huh?
Hey, Cheryl?
Yes.
Cheryl? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I was just wondering, did you ever have the opportunity to... Okay. Did you ever have the opportunity to hook up with Al Sharpton?
Oh, yeah. He came to Nashville, and he was my guest speaker, and he did a wonderful job. Did you see all of the pictures?
No. Can you send them to me, or send them to Melissa, and she can forward them to me?
Herbert, I'll send you a link to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You must be out walking the dog.
I just wanted to ask for some prayers for Dr. Fowler's family. We all probably, if you're not aware, she's struggling with the system to get her grandbaby safe and sound back home. So if we could offer some prayers for her and make sure that we offer prayers for all those families that are struggling and not receiving the best service, and ask our higher power, whoever that might be, to intervene and get the service that they can.
Are you working with Dr. Fowler?
Do I work with her? I consult with her, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, at the end of every show, we do what's called last words. If you could say anything to anyone and you would give someone a last word of hope, Herbert, what's your last words? Oh, you're breaking up, Herbert.
His phone is out of range.
Yep. Herbert, you got really bad feedback. All right. Cheryl, last words?
My last word is that we're going to do everything we can, and we're going to continue what we need to do to inform our parents, especially our men and our women, on how to know what their rights are when it comes to this system. We want to do it with potential parents, parents of young kids, parents of young adults, so they can teach their children, because the strength the power come with the strength of the community is educated, then it will be a force to be reckoned with. So that's what my goals and works with.
Mr. Shakur, last words?
To borrow a saying from Dr. King, this is something that we have to do for ourselves. So I advise everyone to not wait on the money. There are things that you can do at your church. There are things you can do in your community to help people to be informed. Let's get busy, as the young people say. Let's go into action and begin to share this information with people that don't know. It takes nothing to share information. It's free. All you need to pay for it with is with time. So if we do that, then there's without question, with certainty, the problem gets better and people become more informed to do something about their situations personally. So that's my last words. And to know that other people have gone through the same situation. They have gotten through it and come out the better. So stay encouraged. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it so much. It's been I've had a great time. It's been really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're always welcome to come back. Right, Cheryl? We like repeat visitors.
Yeah.
I must have did if you invite me back now, huh?
Hey, you're welcome to come back to the show. I mean, Cheryl's on here anytime that we can drag her on here. Which I mean, you know, it's nice to hear her voice and hear a little bit of laugh in it, because I was starting to worry I was going to have to put out like a missing person report, because she just vanished off the radar in the hospital, trying to have a heart attack on us. I keep telling her she can't die yet. She can't be dying yet. She got too much work to do.
Heart attack, huh? Wow.
Yeah, they thought I was.
So, well, yeah, you proved them wrong, though. You proved them that you'll live to fight another day. That you're too darn stubborn to go down.
I had some praying warriors. All right.
Well, my last words for the evening is to every parent out there fighting, man and woman just alike. Don't ever quit fighting for your kid. Even when all hope's lost, never quit fighting. Because as a father, as a mother, you are the hero to that child.
That's right.
You are the person that loves that child in a way that no foster parent's gonna love them. Not off the rip, maybe years from now after they build bonds or something, but that state worker ain't gonna love that kid like you. So never give up, no matter how little hope you have. Because only through unity of the family, unity of the community, and unity of all of these great organizations that come together to spread the word, to know your rights, can we start bringing our children home and stop having a bunch of them sitting in all of these for-profit organizations, government and non-government alike, while we, the families, are sitting here suffering.
All right. Amen.
So, on that note, it has been nice having everyone on tonight. Mr. Shakur, we'd love to have you back. Cheryl, as always, we love to get you on here, because it's nice when we get you all riled up and you start setting people straight.
Yeah, I get it.
And you guys have a wonderful. Oh, you get it from me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hey, I told you while you're down and out, if you need any bodyguards up there, you just let me know. I'll come kick their butt for you. You got my back in, and I believe Carrie, who's in our chats here, said she'll meet me. She'll meet me in Tennessee.